because that's the one huge miss from Marvel.
I don't know, man. Grow up. On a fake television show
Yeah.
where everything's fake to begin with, so shut the hell up.
Yikes.
What's going on, Internet? Brandon here,
With Jimmy,
and welcome back to Nerd Alert. So what are we talking about this week?
we want to start with Marvel Phase 4.
We're partway into Phase 5 now, and now that it's done, and we've had time to kind of rewatch certain TV series and movies and stuff, we kind of wanted to reflect on our thoughts on it versus, I guess, the internet's thoughts, which is never great, but whatever.
No, I feel like at times Marvel fandom is turning into Star Wars fandom where there's a lot of negativity and it's not good.
I just feel like everything's reaching that point. It's very obnoxious because I don't like, I think part about what made doing this so hard for a long time was that you're just dealing with rumors that are just people posting something they want to see and then making a rumor or setting an expectation for a show or to include somebody or to do whatever, and then being irate when it doesn't happen. And it's like, I've never understood, like, you just let them tell the story. They're the ones telling it. Let them do it in their way. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, you don't. But like, historically, we've been fans of most of the decisions they've made when we didn't have this power to just throw out what we want. And now that we do, it just seems like everything's an issue.
Admittedly, we have the first 10 years of Marvel that ended with Endgame.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most genius movies, cap-offs to a series that long that I have ever seen. It was brilliant. And I don't know if people are like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. And just out of weird timing, we got COVID, so we didn't get anything for a while.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that was amazing. We love it. And then with Phase 4 coming out, it was like they couldn't do anything right.
And I mean, the internet is the internet, and I'll just leave it at that with some of these opinions and stuff. And I'm not saying anyone specifically, but it's the majority of stuff you see. But I do feel like some of the issue came from the type of characters they were choosing.
That's true.
Endgame ended, beautifully. Outside of like James Bond, maybe that was like but James Bond still isn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't the same
interconnected
actor.
The way. Yeah. So it's like this may be the biggest one of all time, the way a expanded universe should be.
Yeah.
And then once they did that, it was time for new ideas and things, and it just seemed like everyone was super like against the grain. It started with Black Widow, which actually took place after Civil War. But I mean, she was overdue for a solo movie forever.
I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. I'm not sure, again, if we're going back to we had lead females. I thought it was brilliant. I like how they told the basic origin of Black Widow and showed the program. It starts in Ohio, so of course I'm going to love it too. But I loved the actors. David Harbour.
Oh, I mean,
hilarious.
Excited he's coming back for Thunderbolts.
Yes.
Like, I think that's an awesome choice for that.
Like, yes, he was amazing.
Yeah, but like that, I enjoyed that movie. It was a good way to show her on her own. And I mean, maybe it's because you were also dealing with somebody who wasn't a god or had all these like she's just what she went through and what she did. She has no like real enhancements. It's all training and stuff. But I thought they did it well with Taskmaker,
and it was a great mix once again of action and humor. I love Florence Pugh.
Oh,
her introduction as being the sister, and every time she does what's that move, and she's like, "Oh, you're going to do the hero landing,
posing,
like, poser." And I'm like, "This is funny." Rachel Weisz is the big bad scientist.
Well, because it's come out with enough time that we can poke fun at those kind of things. Like,
exactly. They established it, and then so I really enjoyed Black Widow. I don't necessarily think it got the hate that some of the later ones did, but I think people were like, okay, well, it's whatever.
Well, I mean, starting off too, this was our first one with TV shows rolled into it, and we got WandaVision, which was outstanding.
Awesome.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, outstanding. Loki, I mean, that was
cool mind blowing.
Well, because that was the start of everything we're seeing now, kind of like officially. So it was like, whoa.
One of my favorite parts when he opens the drawer and there's like 1,000,000 Infinity Stones. You're like,
the only thing about that is I feel like it completely diminishes the severity of Black Widow's death. because it's like she sacrifices herself for the
Yes.
stone, and the guy's like, I have 6 in here. So I was like, man, but I also like how it shows that the gravity of that situation that we just went through
Exactly.
is nothing compared to what is about to go on.
And it sort of goes back to the first Avengers where they're like, there's no aliens.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're in a bigger universe with
aliens.
oh my gosh. So
right now.
here's the MCU we knew now, and now we're in Loki. You're like, oh dang. Where I think one of the misfires came, they did that again with Eternals. Yikes.
I have a soft spot for Eternals because it was Jack Kirby's baby. Originally, and I've done this on social media before. I'll probably do another video down the line because I do feel he's the most under-talked about person of comics is Jack Kirby. But originally, his plan was to have Galactus destroy Asgard and cause Ragnarok, and they were all going to come back as new gods. So he went to DC, did New Gods, and then when he came back to Marvel, he did Eternals, which is kind of based off of that idea of like space people or whatever. And I'm just a giant Jack Kirby fan, so I had a soft spot for this. But even on rewatch, I don't think that was as good as it could have been. It's also kind of been wholly ignored by the rest of the MCU. At the end of it, you have a giant celestial corpse on Earth. In the ocean, and I don't really like. I think it's mentioned in a few things, but like nobody is like, did you see that after the blip and everything else? Like,
I may be off, but I think the only other like Nowhere in Guardians, isn't that the head of a celestial?
Yes. Yeah.
That's like the only other time I'm like, okay, that's I guess what they're referencing.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is
a huge thing.
It is, especially with 3 where they actually
that was cool.
Fly the head.
But
I feel like that one. One of the things as I was watching it, I really felt that should have been on Disney Plus as a TV show because with the time jumping they were doing, the way the storytelling,
so much more time to explain
the number of characters, this is like totally new, and you're just throwing us in a different world.
Here's 15 people, learn them all, get caught up immediately. Like you're right, that would have been.
I thought a TV show would
have
much
been better,
given us a little more time to gestate and understand it. Versus here's 2.5 hours. Good luck.
Which makes you think about how they're going to end up handling X-Men because you're going to be introducing a giant team of mutants.
Yeah.
But either way, with that, Shang-Chi, that was another one that I thought
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. It got a lot of hate, and I don't know why, because to me, and again, I'm just an average white dude, it was a good representation of Chinese culture, much like Black Panther was a good representation of African culture. And it's a world I'm not used to.
Bringing it into the MCU in a way that it gives it its own culture was a good move. And it's like, I don't think that one is as hated on as some of the later ones, especially the last 2 television shows.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a great introduction. I can't wait to see him with everybody else into his own. And you'd love to see him communicate with everybody and even gets with Doctor Strange and Wong at the end, and I
love his relationship with Awkwafina. She is
whatever, dude. She's
hilarious.
I'm not on the hate train of her.
No, I like the brother and sister that we have. I like that we bring back characters we haven't seen
Ben Kingsley
forever, and the Abomination. I mean, I know it's just a quick, but it was like,
but I mean, then that leads into the other stuff, which I was a gigantic fan of with She-Hulk.
Yeah,
and man, did that get just.
Again, I can't tell if it's because it's a woman. The constant remarks of, she's breaking the fourth wall, that she's ripping off Deadpool.
But Deadpool does it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, but Deadpool did it after She-Hulk did it in the comic books.
Just in general, like, also, who...
Exactly. Who cares? And I love the Kevin.
That was the best villain in the whole idea of everything, was that it reintroduced Daredevil. It showed you that Daredevil can be
that was
softer character as well. Because he can be. He's not just this hard, messed up person. And I'm sure through Echo and the show, that's what we're going to see. But it was fun to see him in a lighter tone. Because that's the thing about comics is like you can have a very serious She-Hulk book and a very funny She-Hulk book. Yeah. And Spider-Man can be angry sometimes and then he can be funny. And it's like everyone has layers. Not everybody is one thing every single time outside of Frank Castle and Logan.
And I love how we're introducing disabilities. I know this sounds really weird, but my daughter wears hearing aids. She's hard of hearing. Mm-hmm. And there is this really no representation. So you're like, you go to a movie, you see just some white dude on the screen say Superman, you're like, oh, cool, we're represented. But now we're getting more representation, and to have Hawkeye, who's now wearing a hearing aid.
Yeah.
You might think, oh, no big deal. It's hard to wear hearing aids in public. People literally make fun of you, especially as a kid. So to see that, and then Echo, and then obviously in a different way, who's always been around, Daredevil, who's blind.
Yeah.
It's like, it's awesome to see this representation on screen.
And I think that's where you see all the hate coming from, was people just not wanting things to be different, which
That's
is
so
just
weird.
like, I don't know, man, grow up.
Yeah.
Like it's, I always hear this from people with anything like this, and it's like, oh, they're shoving it down my throat. And it's like, no, they're not. They're making a point that they need to be in things more. And it's just a character on a fake television show where everything's fake to begin with. So shut the hell up.
Yeah. Like, and I don't know the exact ratio, but look to your left, look to your right. Yeah. You're running into somebody that's not you. So chill out.
100%. But yeah, I mean, they've done a lot to open the door for different types of characters, different ages, different religions, everything like that. And
Miss Marvel,
I thought, was a solid show. But the other thing is like, we talked about this I think we talked about this last week with like Star Wars, and at the end of the day, like for children, that show was not for grown dudes.
Grown white dudes.
Like if you read the comics, it's one thing. If you're into this universe, it's one thing. But like a casual watcher, like, don't fucking watch it.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that show was not made for anyone. It was, if you enjoy it, it's fine, but it was not made for anyone above the age of like 22.
But it was good.
Like,
it was still
good.
Well told. And what a lot of people are like, well, I didn't like her origin. It's like, maybe you missed the part.
Her origin's all screwed up regardless. They were trying to narrow that, kind of like Moon Knight, which was also part of this. They took somebody whose origin is all over the place because she was created to pump up a book, and a Marvel didn't have the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four, so they had to get new people in the comics to take that place. So they stopped printing Fantastic Four and lowered their X books and tried doing the Inhumans and tried doing the Eternals.
And that's what I was going to say. The reason why she does not have an Inhumans storyline is because that's the one huge miss from Marvel.
Yes.
It's the Inhumans TV show.
They made her an Inhuman in the comics.
Yes.
And they're like,
this origin.
This all died. Yeah. So now what do we do? So now you have to introduce her in a way where it's not in this show.
Sweep the humans under the rug. Yeah. You don't hear anything about them.
Right. And now they've made her a mutant, which they've now gone in the comics and made her a mutant as well. Well, she's an Inhuman and a mutant. It's all convoluted. But the point is, they had to do that in a way for the show. And I thought they did it in a great way to take a character who's established and have to change her entirely.
And it looks like the Marvels is absolutely using that concept. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's not out yet, so we don't know. But I love how they're interconnected now, and they're clearly trying to figure out how that works.
100%. And like they're taking it and just making it so it works on the TV, which is what they should be doing.
Calm down. And the other one that really is just a one-off that kind of, I think it surprised me, didn't know it was even coming out, Werewolf by Night.
That was outstanding. That was so good. Introducing like a whole other side of the MCU that we haven't seen, with all the space stuff and going on. Now, I mean, space stuff going on, and time and realities and stuff. We're now looking at what the supernatural parts of the world are that Captain America and people don't have time for.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great little introduction. I love the whole black and white shot for the show.
Much like professional sports in Vegas, which I literally never thought was going to happen. I never thought we were ever going to see Man-Thing.
100%. Or in any serious way.
No, that was brilliant.
It was
so my gosh, it was so good. And then sort of again on the darker side, Moon Knight. You referenced it.
Yeah.
But it's not your typical character. And I know a lot of people were not thrilled how it came about with, well, that's not like the comic book.
But like that was another one whose origin is so just screwy, is the only way you can put it, that like something had to be done to make it watchable.
Yeah.
So
these things happen. Comic book people would be able to get into it and understand what this is.
I'm the guy who would get pissed off at every DC movie for not being so close to the comic book, but we're also dealing with a universe that has now been written out over 10 years in like a ton of movies and TV shows. So I'm growing with the idea that you have to be adaptable for these things. And I thought they did it perfectly.
Yeah. And they've done it like we talked about last week, Civil War.
Yeah.
It's not what it was in the comic books. And I was wondering how they're going to do it because they didn't own all the characters at the time. But it's like, holy cow, that was actually better than the comic book in a lot of aspects.
If you read the book and you watch the sides fight and then you watch the movie and it's two groups of 6 running at each other,
Yeah.
it's definitely a different feel, but they still did that the best way they could at that time and had it make sense.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So let us know what you guys think about Phase 4. We are obviously on board. Yes, there are misses, but for the most part, it stacks up with every other phase in the Marvel Universe.
Black Panther 2, Namor.
Oh,
that was so cool. Nope, just had to throw that in at the end.
That's true.
Did outstanding. Wish they would have just recast him.
Let's just go right to Black Panther.
Okay.
Black Panther 2. Go ahead.
We got Black Panther. We got Black Panther 2, which we just got to mention real quick. I still think they just should have recast T'Challa.
And I would say that's my biggest disappointment is that he died.
Yeah.
Nobody can control that.
No.
That's just like, okay. But the story they told, you could have done CG, which was not a great idea.
No.
You could have recast. Okay, they didn't do that. With what we saw on screen, the story they told without Chadwick Boseman, I was fine.
It was a good story. Everyone did great. They made other people grow in that role. Yeah. I still wish we just had T'Challa because that character is so important to the world with the things we're building. And Namor, T'Challa, and Doom are 3 people that I've been waiting to see in live action together. They did a great job with Namor. Had to rework his origin.
I love that.
Works in such a good way.
Not even close to Atlantis and Aquaman.
But what an introduction for him to be a big, just giant pain in the ass to everyone in the MCU.
Yeah, because he's never been like, if you don't know, he's never been Aquaman like, I'm going to help save the world. He's been like, no, I'm going to save my world.
I got my things. I
bugger off.
Care less about anybody.
Exactly.
Else. Do not piss me off. That's his whole thing.
I love it. And they once again established mutants.
And wear a Sue Storm, get her underwater with me.
Exactly.
There's 2 objectives: protect Atlantis, steal Sue away from Reed. That's all he cares about. But awesome introduction. Even the battle with the new Black Panther at the end of the movie was outstanding. So good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Shuri showed how smart she was. Like,
you've got to be a robot if you didn't shed a tear at the very, very end when you realize that little boy is T'Challa's son.
So,
and you're like,
yeah, we're getting to it.
Love it. Anyway, there's a lot of hate for Phase 4. Let us know what you guys think. Obviously, we're starting Phase 5, so we'll talk about that a little later. We're fans. Yes, there's some misses, but we're fans. But let us know what you guys think in the comments below.